Welcome back to the channel. I just had to have some chewing gum because my mouth was feeling like 2020 feels, so I had to freshen up a little bit. Yeah, this is the 5th of my 24-hour marathons, and to celebrate it being the 5th, thought I'd do something interesting, which is a nice change for the channel, I suppose. I got out this piece of paper and I crunched the numbers on the oeuvre of Quentin Tarantino. And I found out that you can squeeze in all 10 of his movies in 24 hours if you don't watch the credits. So, in spite of the fear in my gut and the fact that Sally doesn't approve, I am going to watch all of Quentin Tarantino's movies in order in 24 hours and document it for the channel. Not sure if I'm going to do it. I'm not sure if I'll get through it. I'm never sure if I'll get through these 24 hours, but somehow I manage. I've got to work in toilet breaks and meal breaks, and most essentially of all, coffee breaks, so that I can get through this. By the way, do you like the naked lady on the wall? What I'm going to do is get started at 9 a.m. It's now 8:36 according to the big clock, and at 9 a.m. I'm going to start with Reservoir Dogs and work all the way through to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and see how it goes. Yeah, this one scares me for some reason. Maybe it's the fact that I've been in lockdown for 6 or 8 or a million weeks, who knows. But one way or the other, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to tell you about it at the end of each movie. Going to give it a few minutes. I'm not going to take much time because the clock is ticking. Well, actually, none of my clocks tick. What they do is just change the numbers as the electronic thing does what it does. But you know what I mean. The clock is ticking, and I've got to get going soon. So I'm going to get some water. Going to get maybe another espresso. Yeah, it's 8:37. I can squeeze another espresso in and start watching the movies. I will see you after Reservoir Dogs. The time is 10:43. And I finished watching Reservoir Dogs. Gee, there was a lot of racism in that. There's a lot of N-words, but it kind of works. We all know that it was based on City on Fire, the Ringo Lam movie with Chow Yun-fat in it, but I think it's the dialogue that makes it, and Tarantino does add a lot to it. So next up I'm going to be doing Pulp Fiction, and I'm really looking forward to that because I like Pulp Fiction. That's where Tarantino really hit the straps and made the genre his own. So I'll be doing that one, and then I'll probably take a bit of a lunch break, and then I'll get into the next one, which I think is, just give me a sec, Jackie Brown. Okay, I'll see you after Pulp Fiction, and then we'll move on into the more interesting stuff that Tarantino did after Pulp Fiction. A little more nuanced, a little more adult kind of thing. So looking forward to that. See you after that one. Okay, it's now 19 minutes past 1, which means I finished Pulp Fiction, and yeah, revisiting that was fun. I knew all the beats, I knew all the plot lines, I knew all of the stuff that was involved in it, but it works. There's just so many changes in tone, from serious to monstrously horrible, to humorous, to fun. The cultural references are laid in pretty thick. The information density on it is enormous. And it works. Even John Travolta isn't obnoxious in this one. We also get the start of the foot fetish phase of Quentin Tarantino's work, which has continued to this day. And it's not offensive at all to me. I've said this before in YouTube videos. People have a fetish for something, as long as it's consensual. I just don't care. I think it's a trademark almost for him. And this works. This is also the real point where Tarantino's needle drops start becoming a really big thing. The Chuck Berry and all the other bits, Misery Lou, the Dick Dale stuff. The whole soundtrack is fantastic and iconic of the 1990s. The look of the film is as well. There are a whole bunch of women walking around with one of those Mia Wallace bobs in their hair in the 1990s after this movie came out. It's got a great cultural significance for that reason. And so many movies after this were emulating the style and the non-linear narrative of Pulp Fiction, that there was a whole genre started of movies that were just copying Quentin Tarantino. So it's time for me to move on to the next one. About 1:30, I'm going to be doing Jackie Brown, and I'm looking forward to that too. It's got Pam Grier, of course, Robert Forster, and it's based on a novel by Elmore Leonard, and in some ways that makes it the least Tarantino-like of Tarantino's movies, but one of the best as well. And of course we also have Samuel L. Jackson in it and Robert De Niro, so I'm looking forward to watching Jackie Brown, and that's what I'm going to be doing after I get a coffee. See you after that one. Okay, so Jackie Brown's over with. That is a crazily satisfying movie. It has everything it needs to entertain you. Robert Forster, Pam Grier, Michael Keaton, Samuel L. Jackson, Robert De Niro, Bridget Fonda. And again, you got those needle drops from Tarantino where he's playing Bobby Womack in the Delphonics. It's nice because it's an adaptation from another source, the movie book called Rum Punch by Elmore Leonard. And it works. I think that Tarantino's adaptation of the book works. I've read the book a while back, so it's probably the first really grown-up Tarantino movie with kind of adult characters. Robert Forster and Pam Grier have a fantastic chemistry. And we get from Samuel L. Jackson in his character of Odell a genuinely creepy criminal, and a very, very dangerous one. And then you get some slow burn from De Niro. It just works all along the line. Satisfying ending, very, very nuanced ending, and I like that as well. It's probably one of my top 3 favorite Tarantino movies, and it just works on so many levels. So now I'm going to be moving on to a movie that copped a lot of shit at the time it came out, Death Proof, with Kurt Russell in it. And I'm going to enjoy that in a totally different way than I enjoyed Jackie Brown. But it's now just a little past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and so it's time to watch that and then get some dinner and continue on. After that comes Kill Bill 1 and 2, and that'll take me well into the night. So still doing great, still going strong, and enjoying the Tarantino marathon. So I'll see you after Death Proof. As you might have guessed, I got it wrong, and the next movie wasn't Death Proof. It was Kill Bill Volume 1, and Kill Bill Volume 1 I have watched. It is still a hell of a movie, a mad, crazy, genre-bending kind of film. Uma Thurman's still great in it. The battles are fantastic. That battle between her and O-Ren Ishii and the one with Venetia Green are just still the best. The brutality of the film, the craziness of the film, the fact that even though it does blend a whole bunch of different films together, it is something of itself, and there is nothing quite like it, still remains. And so I'm really enjoying the first half of it. Well, I have enjoyed the first half of it. I should use the past tense. And I'm going to move on to Kill Bill Volume 2 now. The time is currently 11 minutes past 6 at night, and so Kill Bill Volume 2 comes up next, then Death Proof. I will have a chat with you after Kill Bill Volume 2. Okay, it's 8:25 p.m. And I finished Kill Bill Volume 2, which is a saga. It's probably the most comic book of Tarantino's movies so far, and it's awe-inspiring at the same time. One of the things I took away from it this time around, having not seen it for a few years, is how manipulative and cruel and sadistic and psychopathic and everything else Bill is. He gaslights everybody in his life. He messes them around. He's kind of the Harvey Weinstein of assassins, which is kind of ironic because Harvey Weinstein was one of the producers for the movie. But Uma Thurman was great in it. I really like Michael Parks doing dual roles as Sheriff McGraw and as an old Mexican pimp, which is really great bit of casting. Gordon Liu, the whole assassin squad were great. The action sequences are fantastic. The only thing I can compare the action sequences in this movie to in a modern context are Indonesian martial arts films of the current period. I think that the Indonesian martial arts films like The Raid 2, and The Night Comes For Us owe a lot to the action sequences in movies like Kill Bill 1 and 2. So that's it for those ones. I'm halfway through the Tarantinos now, a little bit ahead of schedule, but all the other movies are very long, so I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to finish. But the next one we've got is Death Proof with Kurt Russell, and I'm kind of looking forward to that because I haven't seen it for a long time, and I want to see how well it plays to me as a modern viewer. So I'll talk to you when I finish that, and then we'll move on to the latest, and some say the greatest, of Tarantino's movies, the last 4. See you after this one. Death Proof was fun. It harked back to 1970s drive-in movie. It was crazy good. It was originally part of the Grindhouse duology, in a sense, the double feature that Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino put together with Planet Terror. And this one is much better than Planet Terror. It's really weird in some ways because it's 2 parts of a movie. There's the first part with stuntman Mike attacking a group of young women in a car and all sorts of things to do with going to bars and lap dancing and shit like that. Then you get the second part where Tracy Thoms, Rosario Dawson and Zoe Bell kick the fuck out of him basically, and it is a lot of fun. It does very much have that feel of the 1970s drive-in movie, which the movie does directly reference, things like Vanishing Point, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, those kind of movies. And yeah, it's just Tarantino having fun and not being serious. This one is horror, but it's fun. And I really did appreciate the muscle cars and the fantastic stunt work that was done by a bunch of car people as well as Zoe Bell sitting on the front of a car. Yeah, it kind of works. It doesn't outstay its welcome particularly. And it is very much an exploitation film, and unashamedly so. From now, of course, we move on to slightly more serious stuff, mostly being World War II with Inglourious Basterds. So I'm going to watch that next. The time is 10:34. So about 10:45 I'll start watching Inglourious Basterds and come back and talk to you about that after that. Okay, so it's 1:20 in the morning. This gets sillier and sillier every time I do it. This is the 5th time I've done one of these 24 hours, as Sally reminds me every couple of hours. She's gone to bed now. But I finished Inglourious Basterds, which, in spite of what a lot of the critics have said, is just an alternate universe movie in the same way that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is, in the same way Django Unchained is, and not so much The Hateful Eight. And they're the 3 that I've got to watch now. The next one I'm going to watch is Django Unchained, and I'm going to enjoy that one thoroughly because I enjoyed it the other 2 times I've seen it. But Inglourious Basterds, it worked for me. Of course, you've got Christoph Waltz being brilliant. You've got Melanie Laurent in there. You've got Brad Pitt and all of the Inglourious Basterds. You got some beautiful mise en scène there. And if you have a look at the movie, when you watch it next, Inglourious Basterds, check out all the little bits of movie posters you can see and all of the references to European cinema that you get in it as well. If you're a movie buff like me, and why the hell are you watching the channel if you're not? You're going to get a lot from just watching a lot of the references in there. There's references to French cinema, there's references to German cinema, there's references to American cinema. It's just layered really nicely for film buffs. So next up is Django Unchained, which is probably not one of my favorite Tarantino movies, but it does have moments of entertainment in it. And then I've got the last two to do. I'm holding up pretty well. The coffee has served me well. I've been snacking a little bit, but fairly healthy snacks for the most part, and doing well. So I will see you after Django Unchained and see how that one goes on this viewing of it. Okay, it's 12 minutes past 4 in the morning, and actually 13 minutes past 4, and I've just finished Django Unchained. Now, this one I had a little bit of a problem with because I think it's good in parts. It's very, very good in parts. Christoph Waltz is very good. I think that Leonardo DiCaprio is really good in it. Kerry Washington's really good, but I can't really like the music, which is anachronistic. And well, at least some of it is, and a few other bits and pieces, and I think the ending is very cartoonish. So I didn't like this one quite as much as I liked some of the other movies. I think that what it's got to say is important stuff to be said, but I think that the way it's said isn't. I like the locations. They use the Alabama Hills. They use a whole bunch of Western locations from classic Westerns, which I really appreciated. But for me, it didn't work as well as some of the other movies. Even though Samuel L. Jackson playing Stephen was masterful and magnificent, I think for the most part, it was uneven. The pieces didn't hold together as a cohesive whole. And that's a little bit of a shame. So I'm moving on now, probably in about 20 past 4, onto The Hateful Eight, which is in ultra widescreen. I saw it in the cinema. In the original aspect ratio with the right lenses and all that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to revisiting this one to see whether it's any good. Well, not to see whether it's any good, but to see whether it's held up as well as it did when I saw it on the large screen, and whether it works well as a narrative piece. So I will talk to you after The Hateful Eight, and behind me the sun should be up by then. I'll talk to you then. Okay, the time is 7:11 in the morning, and I've just finished The Hateful Eight, which is one of Tarantino's longest and most complex and in some ways most interesting movies. It's part murder mystery, it's part horror film, it's also part critique and an analogy for a lot of things going on in American society in this decade. And that makes it kind of interesting, though the gore got to me after a bit, because I've been watching Tarantino movies now for 22 hours. So splattering gore are kind of getting to me a little bit. In some ways, this movie can appear kind of nihilistic, but it really isn't. Strangely idealistic. It says that people have to work together and put aside the shit of the past to be able to move forward as a society. And that's kind of interesting. So I'm going to watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood now and finish off this fiasco of a YouTube video. And I will see you guys after that. Okay, so I've had a sleep in a shower, and I just found out that I didn't record the end of the video, which is the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I enjoyed a lot. I think it's one among Tarantino's best films. I think that the ensemble work, DiCaprio, Pitt, Margot Robbie, all the rest, the evocation of the 1960s is fantastically on point. And the music, needle drop, is as usual with Tarantino. Really, really interesting. So the 25 hours I did was pretty hard. Toward the end, I was zoning out while I was watching. I didn't go to sleep, but I kind of just zoned out a bit, which I suppose is to be expected. But it was a crazy journey, and it was a really fun journey as well. It really did give me a new appreciation and a different appreciation of Tarantino's films, and that's kind of cool. So anyway, I better get this thing edited and out to you, and as usual, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. If you have any opinions of your own on Tarantino's films that aren't nasty, because I've had enough of those on Facebook, then let me know, and I'll be back very soon with something else. And as usual, if you'd like to support the channel, you can be a patron at patreon.com/paleocinema. So anyway, look after yourselves, watch some good films, watch some bad films, and I'll catch you next time.